Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my Author's Answer video for August 2023. The Author's Answer series was started by author-tuber J.D. Archer and his writing group, where they subsisted on a blog that I'll link down below, asking each other reading and writing related questions, one per week, several years ago, and then JD answered some of those questions on his AuthorTube channel. Also, I'll also link that down below. And I have been using these questions going sequentially in order for the last several years, answering them, so I'll leave my own playlist down below. And this month I'm up to question 77, which is asking, how do you name your characters? And I think I talked about this on one of my recent Author's Answer videos, where I talked about how Game of Thrones was one of the inspirations for my fantasy novel, and I named some of my main characters after the Starks, which is to say that usually when I say name them after, it means like I took the first letter of their names and chose a new name. I also have a subplot in my fantasy novel that's very much based on Peter Pan and Neverland, and so I had some young boy characters, and I named them after a couple of the Lost Boy characters in the Robin Williams, Steven Spielberg movie Hook. And then the most incongruous one, I think, is that I was reading The Hate You Give during part of the drafting of this book, which tells you how ridiculously long I've been working on it. And I named there was a group of girls that my main character hangs out with that I named after some of the characters from that book. So there we have it. And another thing about my fantasy novel is that it is based in a Jewish-inspired, Iron Age-inspired Israel, so all the names I do choose, no matter what, are Hebrew names. So I think that is something you'd keep in mind, I think, with naming your characters, is the setting and the culture, so what would make sense for that, whether that setting and culture is, original or not, or So that's maybe a bigger hack than just, choose names with the first letter you like. But that's usually what I do, including with some short stories. I have a couple of short stories coming out in publication in September. I'm so excited. I just talked about one of them in my blog, which I'll link down below. It's an anthology that will be for sale mid-month in September. I wrote this post-apocalyptic short story for that anthology. And I based it, I was inspired a lot, I should say, by Station 11, and so some of the characters I did were based off of those characters from that book, taking the first letter of the name and tweaking it. And for other characters, I feel like that I didn't want to directly take from other inspiration. I usually just go with what my gut says in the moment. But otherwise, especially with that story, I had some secondary characters, and their names changed a lot. I guess it took me a while to find names that I just felt like jived as I was slowly writing the story. And finally, the other story I have coming out in September, it was based off of, in part off of my response to a news event from the literary world a couple of years ago, and so I used the real-life people from that story, and all I did was take the first, letters of their names and apply them to my characters as I tried to parse the thoughts that came up from that story in my own fictional story. So those are my big hacks. The one that's actually perhaps meaningful, other than, do as much as you can get away with for fun. But the one that's most meaningful is think about your culture and your setting and what would make sense for naming. So that's my big writing advice of the day, and that's where I'm going to leave you now, because I am really looking at a battery that's about to just flat out die on me, so I gotta get going here. And you should expect me back on this channel in the next couple of days with my latest Am Reading video, so stay tuned. I'd love to hear about how you think up names for characters as writers or as readers, what types of names stick out to you and why. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Keep writing, and I'll see you next time.